Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pitattvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakhatvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are looking from the self-realization, and in the process, how am I going to realize the self? You are that self, you are the witnessing consciousness. You are using the word, we are witnessing consciousness. That means consciousness which witnesses. Witnesses what? So now we are analyzing the three states of experiences that you are conscious of. So when I say it is I am a waker in the waking world, I am a dreamer in the dream world, and I am a deep sleeper in the deep sleep state. And when a student goes and asks the teacher, "Sir, I was not there in the deep sleep state." Why? Because I have no concept of deep sleep state. Only when I am awakened, then I know I slept well. That I slept well, who slept well? That's a good question. Who says I slept well? The mind that is awakened in the waking state says that I slept very well, using the body for expression. But mind was not there to sleep or not to sleep. How can it say that I slept very well since it was not there? Then who slept very well? That's a question always we pose. And if you go to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it describes the deep sleep state as though it is a realized state. Then question is it a realized state? If it is a realized state, nobody gets up from the deep sleep state and then goes into the world as a samsari. So everyone is sleeping and getting up and giving up back to the same. That means if jnanam has come and nothing has happened, then that's not really a jnani or jnanam state. It's only an experience without the knowledge. So experience is not a knowledge, that's what we discussed. I need to analyze the experience, and a deep sleeper does not have the capacity to analyze the deep sleep state. Therefore, one has to be analyzing it only in the waking state. A waker will analyze who is a dreamer, who is a waker, who is a deep sleeper. And also for that mind to analyze in the waking state, he should have a methodology to analyze, and for that only you go to a teacher and learn Vedanta. So all these things fit in exactly as it should. Then only in the analysis can only be done. Vijnasasva, you have to inquire, not to the dreamer or disbeliever. Instruction is only for the waker, because only in the waking state I have the knowledge. So when the student goes and says, "Sir, there is nobody in the deep sleep state, because there is nothing there. All I know is there is nothing. Where were you? I don't know. What were you doing? I don't know. All is I don't know, I don't know." It's only ignorance was there, which is called Karana Sharira. When we talk about the Panchakoshas, we talk about the Sharira aspect. But here it says, I don't have any experience of anything. So how do you know that there is a deep sleep state and I was there? Teacher laughs and says, the fact that you say I don't have any experience in the deep sleep state itself is an experience of the deep sleep state. That itself proves you that you are there. Because you say, I slept very well and I didn't see anything, that I was there looking for everything as though, and there was nothing there. So one went to the go and see if anybody is there in the hall. So this fellow goes there, looks around, and then comes back. "Sir, there is nobody in the hall." "How do you know?" So I went there and checked. So when I went there and checked, I was there to check whether anybody else is there or not. If I am not there to check, I cannot say there is nobody there in there. So to say that there is nobody else in the hall, I have to be there. Same way, to say that there is nothing else, no experience in the deep sleep state, I did not see anything, that means I was there to see nothing. I was there to see no concept of time and space. And I was there to experience the absence of everything, and that absence of the duality itself is a happiness. Oh, I was very comfortable, I was so happy. Everybody wants to go to deep sleep state. If they think that they are not going to be there in the deep sleep state, nobody wants to go. They know that they are going to be there and they are going to be relaxing, because there is no world. So when I sleep there, I am neither a husband nor a wife, neither a father nor a son. So I have none of the relationship there, no transactional world. I may be king or I may be pauper, or the sleep is the same. Whether it's a king sleeps or a pauper sleep, Nidra Okkati. There is a Annamacharya Kirtana is there in Telugu. It says whether a king sleeps or a pauper sleeps, or from the sleep point, there is no difference at all. King may be sleep in the Dunlop bed in a very comfortable position, whereas the beggar may be sleeping on the street. But once he sleeps, he is as comfortable as the other one who is sleeping in a comfortable bed. So from the sleep point, absence of everything itself is an experience. Now question of what is time and what is space, because there is no time, there is no space in the deep sleep state. Where were you? I don't know. And how long you slept? I don't know. So concept of time and concept of space coming with the mind. So there has to be an observer for the time to be there. So Einsteinian definition is, if you know, is that time is a gap between two consequent observations. So if I say tack, so there are two observations has to be done, a sequential observations, not simultaneous observations, a sequential observations, and the sequence involved, therefore there is a gap, and therefore gap between the two sequential experiences or observations, or what Einstein calls it, so that is a time. So how do you know observations? So therefore the very definition requires an observer who is independent of the observation 1 and observation 2, because he is standing apart, a witnessing consciousness, an observer observing event 1 and event 2, and the gap between the two defining the time. This is the Einsteinian definition. So relative to observer, he is defining a time. Right? Now you know all those things. No, with the in olden days when we used to say he goes and travels at the speed of a light and comes back, and everybody he looks young and everybody else has become old. All those things we used to learn. But here the point is that his definition includes only an observer observing the two events, observations, a sequential events, and the observer has to be independent of the events. So what happens if there is no observer? So event 1 and event 2 may be occurring, then since there is no observer, there is no definition of a time. So people ask a question, if the tree falls in a forest, who will know? But who will know? Nobody will know. When you go there, then you know that the tree has fallen. So there is no observer observing the falling of the tree. And if there is no observation, then the falling of the tree cannot be established without an observation. So the tree may fall and tree may not fall. We don't know. It's an indeterminate problem. But only when I go, yes, there was a tree before, and the tree now, it used to be standing up, now it is it's flat on the ground. So tree has fallen down. This is a second observation from which I establish that tree has fallen down. When it fell down, I can establish perhaps an extrapolation of the data. It didn't fall down yesterday night when I went, and it fell down, and in the morning I am seeing, so sometime in the night it must have fallen down, I don't know when. I can only pinpoint from the two observations of before I went to sleep, it was there, it hasn't fallen down, and after waking up, it has fallen down. So this is called essentially a conclusion based on the observations, and I was not there to observe while it is happening. From the observation, I had to conclude that it must have fallen down at that time in between. That's how they establish, when is this murder happened or something happened. A doctor analyzes what's happening there. Depending on that, he extrapolates and information when the heart might have stopped and when the body metamorphosis is occurring, and from that he can exclude, approximately tell exactly when the death occurred or when the life left. All that is only inferential aspects based on the available data. Now, Einstein's definition is there's an observer and the time is gap between two sequential observations. But a Vedantic definition is a little bit more precise, and it says that the time is a gap between two sequential experiences. Therefore, there is an experiencer and experience. Experience is changing, not the experiencer, because the same experiencer or a witnessing consciousness has to be there. Experience 1 is an observation 1, experience 2 is an observation 2, and the gap between the two is defined as the time. Time is inference deducted by an experiencer having two sequential experiences. If I am so deeply involved in one experience, then I don't have the concept of time because I need the second experience to measure the time. So, according to the Mimamsa theory, it says when I am seeing an object, according to Mimamsa theory, when I am seeing an object, I am seeing an object here and now. Therefore, time is being measured as though by a Sakshi, a witnessing consciousness measures the time also, and also space here, not there. So, time and space are being measured by a witnessing consciousness when I observe an object now. When I am continuously observing the same object, according to them, there is a sequence of continuity of observations, one overlapping the other. Essentially, a digitization of the analog signal. Means there is a digital observe now, observe 2, observe 3, observe. These are so fast that you look as though a continuous observation of the same object in the waking state. That's how Mimamsa defines it. But from the point of science, that need not be, because I don't measure the space and time by now. Now is not a concept of time. Now is not a concept of space. Because to define it now, I need something then to compare with which I can define a time. I need two sequential experiences or observations for me to define a time. So therefore, observation 1, observation 2, or experience 1 and experience 2, and the experiencer should not be changing with the experience, otherwise I won't know. So if I go there and observe and I leave the hall and another one comes and say observe, then he says, I don't see anybody, there was nobody here. He says he did not know about other people who came and left, because he was not a constant observer observing the events that is going in. If we change this along with the event, then we don't need a proper reference. So when I say now is not a concept of time. And if you go to Google and ask, so I had to live in the present. Realization is a realized master lives in the present. You have to be very careful, because these statements are thrown in the literature, and a realized master lives only in the present. There is only now. So live in the now. If he lives only now and forgets the past, then he has a problem. He has to remember what he studied in the past for realized master. So you have to be careful what is that being specified as now. Because he gives the importance to now, because the past is gone and the future hasn't come, and the now is only available which is real. So the reality to the present and not to the past or the future is the knowledge of a real knowledge of a master. So importance of what is that acting now. But in the now there is no time. Because now is where the past is meeting the future. Right? Present is nothing but where past is meeting the future. So how long should be the now? How much should be the gap between where the past and the future are meeting? That's what is present is. So if you say, oh, this is today is now, or this year, today, this month, and today, this hour, now is now, or this second is now. Fortunately, they say only this, they don't say this first, this second, because you need two things to define time. And this second, or I can even divide that second into a microsecond. And I can divide even microsecond into a picosecond. Picosecond, 10 to the power of minus 8 into a part dividing. 1 divided by 10 to the power of 8. That means so much of smaller and smaller and smaller. I keep on dividing, making the present smaller and smaller and smaller. It became insignificant. But what is there is actually the one who is dividing and independent of now, independent of the division. He is present there. The observer or the one who is observing the two sequential events, he is continuously has to present, and that present observer is really independent of time. He always sees now. Because anytime he observes, his observation is only in the now. You cannot observe in the past, you cannot observe in the future. Past is gone, future hasn't come. Any observation, any living, any action, any doing, anything that you can do can only be done in the present. And there is no time in the present. What is there is only your presence and the presence of the world. Both. That is Ishvara's present and your presence. And you see Ishvara is not different from you later. But you can see that when I say he lives in the now, that means he is constantly aware that I am a witnessing consciousness. The fleeting, the objects and times are going, but I do not go along with it. That is what essentially living in now. Things come and things go. I am not unaffected because I am an observer, and what is affected is only fleeting things, including the body, mind and intellect. He is an observer of now, because even body is observed, mind is observed, intellect is observed, but I am what? I am witnessing consciousness who is conscious of the fleeting moments of everything that is going on. So living in the present, a master is the present or now has to be correctly understood. It is where we are talking about the conscious entity who is beyond any time concept, because now is not there or then is not there. He is only eternally present, and that constant awareness of his own presence all the time in spite of changing environment is what is called living in the present. Because for him past is gone, but the observer is all the time there, and that is neither present nor future nor past. It is beyond any concept of time, and that alone is the truth, because it's called eternal. Eternal is not long time. Eternal is beyond even the time concept. So one who is an observer, observing the waking state and the dream state and the deep sleep state, he is beyond waking state, dream state and the deep sleep state. Waking state is changed, dream state has come. Dream state has changed, deep sleep state has come. Deep sleep state has come, gone, again waking state. So states keep changing, rotating all the time. There are only 3 states. You can have the murcha. Murcha means the faint, the one who faints or one who lost consciousness and all that. It's only we are talking about expressing consciousness, but that all that are only states of experience. So absence of any subject-object duality is also an experience. In fact, recently it happened to me. I was coming from states, from Washington to Chennai, and in between I had to stop at the Delft University. I had to give some talks on, not on Vedanta, but on science, since they are invited and paying for that. And therefore I stopped at Amsterdam, and that is from Amsterdam I had to go by train to Delft University, which is around about 200 kilometers or something. By train I had to go. And since we are coming here and we live almost 6 months in India, me and my wife got down at the overnight flight, red-eye flight, got down at the Amsterdam, and we want to put the luggage in a storage place. And from the Google we know that there is at the airport there is a place to store it. And we were running around where it is, and nobody knows. There are no porters there, and we have big luggage carrying around. These two people moving in the carts and trying to find out where it is. It took almost like 4 hours or 5 hours to find where exactly, because no one is there to tell anything. And ultimately when we found, and there's no help there other than the lockers, and it is self-operated. And the big lockers where we had to put it, even it requires a big help, and rotate it properly so that all the 4 suitcases can be packed there. And that really strained us to the degree. And then we had to come to Delft. To come to Delft we had to go to Central train station and then catch a train from there to Delft. And Delft University is where I had to give a talks. There's a workshop. And when we went there, says you have to get a train ticket. And how do we get a train ticket? Oh, there are machines there. They are all in Dutch language, and the machine only accepts the change, the euros change, and we don't have the change. So how do we get a change? Again, there's a big line asking for a change. So we have to stand there for another hour to get a change, and then go to Delft, and from there again go to the place we had to go. It's a real mess. And by the time we landed there in Delft, it was almost like 3 o'clock. All the shops are closed. Lunch is over. They open only at 6 o'clock. And again, we had to wait until 6. So by the time we got exhausted, and next day in the early morning, it so happened that normally I get up very early. So I got up, and it's a small bathroom with a sink and a commode and a shower. And the shower and the rest of the bathroom is separated by an iron rod or iron separating the water doesn't fall in this side. So, and it's a folding door, and the main door of the bathroom itself there's no locking mechanism, it's only gliding. So I was there in the bathroom. Then I felt a little dizzy and sweating. I thought I better go and lie down and take rest, and that was my last thought. Next, I found that I was lying down in the bathroom in a very, very precarious condition on my back, looking up, and my wife is pounding my chest and giving me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, because she said she heard a big fall, which I had no concept of it, because I lost consciousness even before I fell. And how I fell in that precarious bathroom without getting hurt anywhere, because the probability of mine in that position is almost like a 0, but as though someone guided me into that position, and my neck is inside the shower and my rest of the body is outside in one place where there is nothing obstruction in that angle. And even though the separator is separating my neck and the body, I have not hurt anywhere here also. It's a really a wonder of all wonders. And I was only awakened because my wife is pounding the chest, and I hear the breathing, and I thought I'm coming from a heaven and a great angel is breathing into my mouth, and I saw my really angel face my wife, and I told her, yes, I'm okay, all right, because I looked around, I saw whole nothing but Narayana, and only with a bathroom and a commode and everything. Say, how come Narayana is looking like this? But once I come down to the transaction level, my wife went back to make sure that I am okay, called the ambulance, called the operator to call the ambulance in the Dutch language, and it took some time for her to convince to call the ambulance, and I was taken by ambulance by the time I was awake. Degree. So in between, I had no experience of anything other than I say I want to take a rest is my last thought, and the next one is that is my wife is pushing air into my mouth and make sure that I am breathing. That's all I could see. So in between, what happened? It will be nothing. I don't know what happened. So this is a very, very peculiar lesson for me, that in the sense, this in fact is what happens in death also, where no memory of anything, and it's not that I slept very well and all that, even that is not there. It is just absence of everything, and only I had to recall that my wife said I made a lot of sound when I fell down, and because of that she was sleeping and she was found that I must have fallen down. Then she came running to, unfortunately the door is openable, the bathroom door, and if the bathroom doesn't open, then I could not have got up also, and bathroom door opened and she could breathe in. Maybe I could have got up slowly later, as according to it's not a heart failure, it's only from the exhaustion and maybe a dehydration or something. But experience itself and the medical part of it is me falling down in such a way that none of my body are hurt, no scratch even. That's really wonder of all wonders. Maybe Lord wants me come back again to do something else. So this is a lesson, but I experience itself, that state of becoming unconscious is also an experience, but the experiencer is not completely recorded even, unlike in the case of a deep sleep state. So there seems to be difference between a deep sleep state versus the coma state. Now let's ask the question, who sleeps in the deep sleep state? What really happens? What really happens if we go to the Panchakosha Viveka later, but what happens is the Pranamaya Kosha, Annamaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha. These are called koshas. 5 koshas are there. So when one goes to sleep, the Annamaya Kosha merges into Pranamaya, Pranamaya along with the Annamaya merges into Manomaya, and all these 3 koshas again merges into Vijnanamaya, which is intellect, and the Vijnanamaya along with all the previous koshas merges into Anandamaya Kosha, which is nothing but pure Vasana state. Why Anandamaya? Because there is no subject-object duality. So what is Anandamaya Kosha? Is nothing but the intellect, folded intellect, along with all other in the process of lying down as though it is there, but it's not being expressed in terms of subject-object duality. So who sleeps very well? It is the whole kosha went into a state of mind itself, goes into a state along with all the koshas, and where no distinctions of the subject, because our mind is not there, but it is being experiences, because the consciousness still illumining that folded mind, and because of that there is still a Chidabhasa, and the Chidabhasa, where the mind is being activating the brain system and all the mechanical system, make sure that all physiological functions are going on. So life is really wonder. Who controls all that? That is also being, that's what I had happened in the coma also, where when I went in, obviously the physiological system is still functioning, and my wife could not find that I am breathing or not, so she was forcing to make sure that I am awake. So that all that is experience in a way that who is a deep sleeper? It is this mind with the folded along with the Chidabhasa. Since the life is still there, Chidabhasa is where what makes the intellect as though conscious entity. So that conscious entity is still operating as though all physiological functions, breathing and digestive system, excretory system, everything is going on. Yet I am not conscious because the mind is not there to record those subject-object duality. So who slept very well? I am the one with the folded intellect is called Anandamaya Kosha, and that intellect along with the previous koshas are only in a potential form. So intellect that knows chemistry will be in the potential form, and it opens with the chemistry only. It doesn't come with the physics knowledge now. So same mind, it is still there, and one who is a sleeping experience is again, it is the intellect along with the koshas in the potential form, experiencing the absence of subject-object duality, therefore experiencing the object of the time concept is not there, space concept is not there. All that is part of the deep sleep state, and I am there witnessing even the deep sleep state. I am not sleeping, I am there witnessing the deep sleep state. I, as a witnessing consciousness, never sleeps. So all that is happening. So I am a waker, I am a dreamer, I am a deep sleeper. Therefore I am a subject, and all the states are objects. I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, because this is changing, but I am changeless entity, same I am in all the three states. So how do I define I am? So I cannot define it. Therefore we go to scriptures where Mandukya Karika in the Mandukya Upanishad in the 7th mantra defines most beautiful description of who is that I am. That we will take up next talk. With this we stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.